let's take a look at the index and what we've been able to cover today, just some of those, object methods and other keywords. So there's a little bit more that we need to cover with respect to the core features of inheritance in Java. But before we continue on with this specific presentation, I just want to make sure that we talk about our current homework assignment, because we don't have a chance to meet on Thursday. Let's talk about assignment 2. It's actually a very small assignment, and this is what it says. Right? It says that there's a class right here, which is a demo class that comes with the book, it's called the Validator Class, and it contains a bunch of static methods, right, which allows you to retrieve getString if you have a scanner class, and it automatically prints the prompt. I think we've used this validator class a number of times in the past. So you can have methods to get integer, and you can have methods to get integer in a specific range, and likewise to get double within specific range. And so there's some basic methods that allow us to use prepackaged versions of these methods. What's good about those methods, that, for example, when you say get me next integer, there is some defensive code in this implementation that says, do you have next integer? And if it doesn't, it basically prints a very simplistic error message on the screen and says there is no integer value there for me to work with, and it skips the line and goes right back and says, do you now have an integer? As it does that, eventually we're going to get our integer from the user. Okay, so those are useful utility methods. But in this homework assignment, we need to provide an interface to simply ask the user to enter an integer within specific range, right? And if it's not in a specific range, or if there's anything else that's wrong with it, we can, like for instance, if I intentionally enter a value outside of this range, it basically says, look, there's a mistake, you need to enter an integer within a specific range, and it does all kinds of checks for this, right? So it does a series of tests for integer input, for double input, then for required string input, and this is pretty much the user interface, and there's also a set of choices for us, but internally I'm asking you to create two classes which inherit from one another. One of them is called customized validator, and another one is object-oriented validator, which basically provide the following interface. So object-oriented validator superclass, this is a superclass at the top of the hierarchy, should have a constructor. You can decide what constructor you want, but it has to have a set of these methods. This is the constructor that takes the scanner, for example, and methods that are called get integer within range, get double, and get double within range. So this is for the superclass. Clearly, I think you can download the validator.java into your project, and you can actually utilize those existing methods. But I want you to create a separate class which has this interface. Okay, and you can delegate calls to that validator class, but this one will be called object-oriented validator simply because it's it has a state, and therefore it can remember what the prompt to the user should be, or what scanner object to retain as to use to get the standard input. And the customized validator actually gets a couple of extra methods to your class, and all that we have to do is essentially the backbone, the framework there should be to say, what I'm expecting you to do is just say file, new project, right? So you create new project, and this will be homework 2 or whatever you call that project, right? So you finish that. So then, of course, you go right here and you say new Java class, and you can, my habit, I really like to copy and paste, especially names, and you quickly create this class object-oriented validator. Then, of course, you go right here and you say new Java class, and of course you create this customized validator class, right? So you do that as well. Right here, and then of course once you have this arrangement, you can quickly say that customized validator extends the OO validator, right? So you do this, and my habit is to also mark ending of my classes at the closing brace, because there may be a lot of code in between those two. And so this is what you do. And of course, so here's the object-oriented validator. Let me just get rid of these comments here. Class object-oriented validator right there, right? So I want you to do this. And of course, when you see in the spec like this that someone tells you, oh, by the way, you should support these methods, of course you just copy and paste, right? You just go, you see this looks very much like Java code, right? So I should be able to actually copy and paste this into my class, right? So I'm just showing you what I'm expecting you to do, right? So over here, of course, those method signatures are unfinished. So of course you do need to add method bodies to every single call and do things like this, right? So you do this and so forth, right? So each method like that needs to have a return statement. When I copy and paste, sometimes I just do like return 0 before I can write any specific implementation. But this is the type of work I'm expecting you to do, and I think that you will definitely need to retain a scanner here. So you can say private scanner SC or whatever you want to name this. And of course, what needs to happen is that in a constructor like this, very typical situation, you can say this scanner equals scanner, and so you go from here, right? So you just you see that I'm almost solved this problem for you in terms of the framework. All you need to do is just finish this, and you need to have this class and this class, and you need to have these methods in your class, as well as these two methods in a subclass, right? So this is a customized validator as a subclass. So similarly, Control-C, copy and paste into customized validator, right? So right here, you do this, and you go from there. Of course, those should be real methods, so you convert this pseudocode into the real code, right? So this is one method, this is another method. Of course, they return strings, so there should be a return statements there, right? Return whatever. This is like, debug. For now, I don't have anything, but a very typical situation that when you copy and paste, the indentation doesn't seem right. So remember, you can always say say source and format, and so it formats everything for you. And likewise, you can finish this implementation.